by trying to guide his side competitively against Wasps in the white, in the change kit this afternoon. And the first job for Guy Thompson, who turns 30 tomorrow and wears 8 today, is to pile the ball forward. Matt Simmons also. James Haskell, the 35-second man. That's how long he was on the pitch a couple of weeks ago before he banged noggins with Freddie Burns.
Yeah, and he's only got 6 seconds to go to beat that. He's almost there, but Dai Young will be instructing these forwards to carry hard and carry straight. It's often the way when you've got a perceived easier opponent that you go lateral too early. Dai will have been speaking about that with his forwards and his charges all week long. I've seen a box kick early on. Will actually show that Wasps are giving Zebre the respect they deserve.
The early issues for Zebre so far this season, and certainly in Europe, has been the concession of early tries. It took just 90 seconds for Connacht to puncture them last weekend at the sports ground. Wasps needed 2.5 minutes at the Rico in October. As Lloyd Grief, who's one of a handful of South Africans bedding in for the first time this season in Parma, is shuttled into touch by Christian Wade.
Yeah, good defence from Wade on the outside, keeps his leg drive going into touch, but if you look at Zebre's stats, they don't really make for great reading. They've only won 1 game all season. They average conceding over 43 points a game and 6 tries.
Let's have it again.
So the last side you really want to be playing against is the best attacking side in the Aviva Premiership, Wasps, who make on average 478 metres a game. I think there's a good chance they might beat that this afternoon.
First line out, and it was well disrupted by George Biaggi, one of those in Conor O'Shea's Six Nations squad. No Quentin Heldenhays today, and that steal has led to the first real attack, and Mattia Bellini bringing it away. And here's the fullback, Kurt Baker, Kiwi, who went to the same school at the same time as Aaron Cruden. Paths have followed a slightly different route since, but here he is in the Champions Cup. And Canna, it's a nice right boot, and it might yet work, and that's brilliant defensive effort from Christian Wade, who, as we know, is not the tallest on the pitch, but he did just enough to get his hands on the ball there.
Did really well, because he wasn't up against his opposite winger. He was against a Banda, who's a big old guy, and he out-jumps him, times it so well. This is, we've been saying that Zebre really struggled to score tries. Frank Kalai steps out the line, gives them a real opportunity down the right-hand side. And this crossfield kick, is great defence from Christian Wade.
What was the middle?
Well, he would have been very much second favourite to get to that ball first, but he managed to barge Maxime and Banda out of the way. There he is. Another one of those in Italy's Six Nations squad, just starting to make his way as an international. Taken at the back by Josh Furno, former Newcastle man, back in his homeland this season. Driven up by Tommaso Boni. Won his first Italian caps last year. Scored against New Zealand in Rome in the autumn. Plenty of this Zebre side, part of the effort that historically beat South Africa as well back in November. So they know about upsetting the apple cart. Wasps represent the apples today. Taken on by Kurtley Beale, first time we've seen him ball in hand.
Yeah, and running it out from his own 22 as well. Shows you the intent that obviously Wasps want to get some early scores on the board. But Zebre doing really well defensively. Line speed going forward in the midfield there with the forwards. What they've got to be careful of is the blind side. Wrapping back, and you've got good runners like Launchbury and Haskell to punch holes. But defensively, Zebre really fronting up at the minute.
Hoisted up by Robson, an invitation for Wade to get under it, but Canna got there first. Scrum half today is Marcello Violi, contemplating a Six Nations debut after his inclusion in the squad. And they're looking very comfortable ball in hand at the moment. The early defensive work having to be put in by the visitors. Latest tackle affected by Matt Simmons, and then the turnover completed by Tommy Taylor, and very quickly Elliot Daly inviting Frank Halai to hair after this, and Canna had got back there first.
Yeah, Canna does really well, gets the bounce of the ball as well. And this will be one sight that Dai Young does not want to see. Yes, you come to Zebre. Yes, you're expected to win. But they've got a lot of big games to come, Wasps. What they don't want to be doing is seeing any serious injuries, and that does not look good.
It's a Matt Simmons who is down. Simmons, who was a replacement last weekend, started this in place of Kieran Mile. Here's where he hurt himself.
I think it's Tommy Taylor's head, isn't it? His arm comes around the tackle. We know how physical Tommy Taylor is. This is what we've been speaking about a lot. When two players go for one ball carrier, you often end up swinging around that ball carrier and colliding.
It's Nathan Hughes amongst the replacements. Now good to see Simon McIntyre starting again for Wasps after
Wasps.
the best part of 4 months.
Sorry.
Johan Meyer, who was driving the ball up for Zebre, was the one who created the issue. That's a familiar face. Frank Murphy, we just caught a little glimpse of him.
Perfect.
From a Munster and Leicester scrum half, has got a flag in his hand today.
Time on, please. The line.
Matt Simmons is fine. He takes his place in this line-out, which is snatched back by Furno. They don't lack for height in the middle of that Italian line-out, and cleared up by Boni.
It's a better collision from Haskell. Be pleased to get the next tackle in after the concussion that he suffered.
And Banda, who took it up. By Violi to Canna. Again off the boot of the inside centre, Tommaso Boni. And now Beale. That's forward by Robson.
We do get a sense that there may be a little message coming onto the field from the coaching staff of Wasps. They spoke about complacency. They've probably spoken about respecting the opposition, respecting the field position. And often you say that about sides when they go away to some of the Italian teams, that they play it from anywhere, but Wasps do that week in, week out anyway. They see the opportunities and they try and take them. Just Zebre have actually had a very good start to the game.
Let's hit this right, please.
It's be a pretty thankless task playing for Zebre right now.
That's
There's
fine,
no
that's
way
fine.
to dress up their recent form. Just 2 wins from the last 28 games over the past year. One of those wins was in Edinburgh at the end of October, so when they get it right, they can win, and take a draw right now after the first half a dozen minutes. They've been very much in this contest.
I think they would. There's a lot of talk about their financial problems as well that they're facing. Some of the articles in the newspapers claiming it's win or bankruptcy today.
Let's get it right.
These players are playing obviously often for a lot more than just what's on offer in the match.
Now there has been a try in Toulouse. We're going to bring you that try in a moment or two. The match between Toulouse and Connacht kicking off at the same time as us.
Seconds again.
And it's Gaël Ficou who has gone over. And what with France's new injury concerns in midfield ahead of the Six Nations. Ficou, who played against Wasps last weekend at the Rico, has Toulouse ahead of Connacht.
And that try was converted as well, Nick, so makes it 7-0 over there.
Effectively in pool 2, it's 2 from 3 for a place in the quarterfinals. Toulouse are going to have to get the bonus point to overtake Connacht, but at the moment the pressure is on the Irish province to stay within reach and touching distance of the top 8 odds.
Yeah, it's relatively simple maths there. It comes down to the points that you score between Connacht and Toulouse, and the points that they've scored against each other in the 2 matches. But to simplify it, all Toulouse have got to do is deny Connacht a losing bonus point. If they do, they'll overtake them on the points scored against each other and also on points difference. So it's quite simple maths for the group. And we expect Wasps to win, but they could be going 3-0 down, which after almost 9 minutes of the game will be a shock to many.
This is Carlo Canna, who started all 3 of Italy's autumn tests, set to start the Six Nations. He's the top point scorer this season for Zebre. Deservedly. It is the Italians who strike first. They've had the bulk of the ball, the bulk of the territory, and now they have all of the points early on. 9 minutes gone. Zebre 3, Wasps 0.
It's actually stemmed from really good phase play and controlling field position. Wasps have only been in Zebre's half for a couple of seconds, but here they are now, and a great opportunity from the restart.
Advantage over.
It's taken on by Ashley Johnson. Another pinpoint accurate restart from Danny Cipriani, and the big hit coming in from Derek Minnie.
Forward.
First season at the club for Minnie. South African, made his European debut at the Rico. He's played Super Rugby for the Lions and the Sharks.
Yeah, normally from this situation as well, you find your defensive line being a little bit restricted and quite tight. Zebre got their lines width in place really quickly. They came forward, advanced onto Wasps. And currently Wasps look like they think they're in a training run. They're running 50% lines and at pace. Zebre deserve the lead.
Wasps front row of Simon McIntyre, Tommy Taylor and Marty Moore closest to us. Marty Moore bashing ears with Andrea Lavotti. It's become Italy's first choice loose head over the last season or so. Gone down on this near side, but David Wilkinson says let's get on with it. Beale. Philly LaRue, by the way, pitches up from Japan in the next week or so. So he will be available for a quarter-final match should Wasps get there. This is Grief. Made his European debut last weekend at the sports ground in Galway. Canna flat again, inviting Grief to run onto it. Some more defensive work for Christian Wade.
Right feet.
Yeah, he's a unit, is Grief, isn't he? He's swapped wings to take on Wade. 14 on his back, normally on the right wing, but obviously trying to take advantage of that size.
Boney, double tackle by Johnson and Taylor and hit back hard. Does well to hold on to possession.
Really well. They're going through the phases, really nice patterns of play. Ball's in behind. And applying pressure to Beale at the back.
Well, they do score tries. They scored 3 of them in Galway last Saturday. They were actually ahead for a while early on, but they were rather undone by Connacht's 10. By the time we played,
Wait on the line,
80 minutes of lovely memories this week as well of perhaps the dozen they shipped at the Rico in October, but they're very much in the ascendancy early on.
They're going to continue to be. That's the second line out on the trot Wasps have lost. Zebre get the opportunity to try the power game around the corner.
This is Meyer. Johnson with the tackle. Canna. Again, it's Boney who's getting a lot of ball time in this first quarter of an hour. Dario Chistellini waits, but instead it went to Meyer, and again they're stretching it. Here's Bellini. Scrum half Violi. And again Chistellini, familiar figure down Kingsholm Way a few years back. This is Mbanda.
Release White on the way.
Third cap against New Zealand in the autumn for Italy. Promise of more to come.
Tackle!
Chistellini once more from short range. Joe Launchbury, part of the reception party. Taken on by Oliviero Fabiani, the hooker. No Carlo Festuccia today for Zebre, which is eyebrow-raising. He's not playing against his former mates, and Violi again gives it some air, and Canna finds Bellini, and Bellini will score. What a wonderful start for the apparent no-hopers before this match kicked off. They've got the first try as well and lead Wasps by 8 points to 0.
Absolutely brilliant rugby, and really sensible rugby as well around the fringes. Putting players out wide, taking on the slightly smaller defenders. It's a well-timed pass. Beale comes forward, line, creating the dogleg, overreads the play, and over goes Bellini for a sensational start from Zebre.
How well are they playing? Bellini, who started all 5 Six Nations games last season, but interestingly not part of Conor O'Shea's squad this year. They've got Michele Campagnaro, extra centre back, as an option. Perhaps explains it, but he's a man who knows his way to the try line. And they had good reason to like it. Quarter of an hour gone. Zebre 10, Wasps 0.
Yeah, for those people who have just tuned in, this is actually happening. It is Zebre 10, Wasps 0. And well worth every one of those points. Playing really clever around the breakdown, not using their forwards into the Wasps forward to allow those big hits. Distributing the ball slightly wider, as you see there. So you take out the big defenders around either side of the ruck. It's a good turnover though. And McIntyre straight over the ball.
Number 3 is in the side.
Penalty going against Kistolini. Another look at the try. He just cut inside Kirtley Beale. That's how it looks in Pool 2 right now. And it's not how Wasps will hope it looks when we're settling down for tea a little bit later on. First chance of points, however, for Danny Cipriani. Cipriani, who was man of the match in October's fixture, first time he won that award since returning to wear a Wasps shirt, and he gets the scoreboard ticking from their perspective this afternoon in northern Italy. Zebre 10, Wasps 3. It's not the biggest stadium, Stadio Sergio Lanfranchi. It only holds 5,000. It's not fully populated today, as you can see. But they've spent some money on it. It's a tidy little place, built less than 10 years ago, and it does the job as far as Zebre are concerned right now. And it's not often that they find themselves ahead in any fixture, so those who come along regularly
are
thoroughly enjoying what they're seeing right now.
Carry back. Wait, no. 2-1.
The left boot of Cipriani.
Wait, stop, Ian. No, you must stop.
Taken by Kurt Baker. European debut last Saturday for the fullback. Captain New Zealand Sevens in his time. Something of a journeyman, and he finds himself in Parma right now.
Yeah, he'd been slightly worried when that came off his boot. You can see him laughing there. It's a bit of a slice, lands just in the field of play. Sometimes they go for you, sometimes they go against you. And that one was certainly a little bit lucky.
Tommy Taylor, who's been hitting his European line-out targets 93% of the time this season. He's already lost one today, but not that one, gathered by Simmons.
This is where undoubtedly Wasps will have the upper hand. Yes, they've got the backs and the pace, and they can mix the two now. The driving line out, and Frankelai's away down the short side.
Thompson trying to offer himself as a supporter, but Mbanda's over the top and does very good work to gum up Wasps' works.
Often happens, doesn't it, Nick? You take a quick tap penalty, your forwards aren't quite on the same wavelength, and here's that frustration starting to show itself. And the more Zebre can frustrate Wasps, the better. But when you take a quick tap, you get isolated, you go to ground too quickly, as you think Frankelai does, and it's the credit to Zebre as well. Before today, 80% defensively, which is terrible stats, but they're not missing many one-on-one tackles. And the clear out there, Guy Thompson just slightly around the side, which allows Zebre over the ball.
One of the things the likes of Maxime Mbanda do very well, coached by Victor Jimenez, the forwards coach who's currently working as head coach after the sacking of Gianluca Guidi, is populate the breakdown. They really frustrated Connacht last weekend. It is one of the areas of the game that they're strong on. Certainly early on at the at the sports ground. They got the right numbers there, the right kind of physicality, and they've just drawn a penalty here.
Yeah, and Wasps thrive, as all sides do, but particularly Wasps off fast balls. So if those breakdowns are heavy, are difficult to get the ball out from, the continuity really breaks up. So Wasps will have to find different ways of controlling this match or getting back into it.
We're here? Yeah, that's it. Open up the line, split the line, split the line.
Oh, just where, have a look, see where this latest phase of play takes us, but there's another try which we'll show you in a moment from Toulouse. Toulouse against Connacht, kicking off at the same time in this pool. George Biaggi winning the line out. And Quentin Heldenhays or Valerio Bernabeu today, so Biaggi again, who captained the side last season, will be the main source of line-out ball, and they're working this nicely.
Certainly are. A lot of the Wasps forwards have come up the side. Haskell has been told to leave the legs. It's actually the players, it's actually Johnson's legs who he's got hold of. They've managed to retain possession here, I think, Zebre, which did incredibly well with the amount of Wasp players. Or have they?
Violi is really having to get his pitchfork out to pull that one out of the mud. And eventually it's Mini.
Hold 4, stop.
Cannon. Again, he does like that little chip over the top, but there was nothing doing there. Now then, that try at the start, Ernest Vallon between Toulouse and Connacht, Austin.
Yeah, Huger with a break down the middle. Ronnie Vallon is outside. It's a lovely time pass and a great handoff. Makes it 12-0 to Toulouse. Difficult to see Connacht winning that in the first place, but 12-0 down this early, almost impossible task.
Arthur Bonneval's try was converted, so they lead by 14 points to 0. So pool 2 at the moment, it's Wasps and Toulouse heading into the last 8, and Connacht are missing out.
There's that maul again, as you see. Haskell got grip there. Just trying to present the referee with a different picture, that he's not on the wrong side. He's come through the middle.
Ferno quickly down and neatly down to Marcello Violi and Canna. Andrea Lavotti provided the hefty link in the middle.
There's that area again, either side of the breakdown. 10 metres either side. It's so well defended by Wasps. To begin with, Zebre weren't going into that area. Now they're trying to find a way back in there. They're just getting smashed and being pushed back on the gain line.
Again, Mbanda going through the contact, making a metre or two. And once more, Lavotti. Canna. He's getting through an awful lot of work, Maxime Mbanda. He was busy defensively last weekend in Galway, 19 tackles, but he's making Wasps do a lot of tackling at the moment.
He is. Zebre into double figures phases, and that's the first time they've actually gone over the 10-metre line of Wasps.
This is the try scorer, Mattia Bellini. No Marco Bergamasco these days, and Derek Mini takes it on. And they are getting through the contact. They're making good progress at every breakdown, playing with quick ball, and Canna's drop goal elicits the knock-on from Dan Robson. So Zebre will get the scrum, but that wasn't one of the better drop goals we'll see this weekend.
No, it wasn't. It actually wasn't the right decision. He went through with it. Bellini's carried well, nice offload, and then they just get a bit scrappy, potentially forward there. Mini runs to the tackle of Beale, and it comes back to Canna. Well, probably best not commenting too much on the quality of that. But what has been good is the quality of Zebre's play. It's been varied, balls back inside, a little bit loose and scrappy. That guy there will be trying to impart all of his experience on this team and saying, guys, come on, we need to sort this out. We're 22 minutes in, and we haven't played any rugby.
By 5:30 we'll know the precise makeup of the quarterfinals, and we'll be able to bring you all the highlights from the final weekend of European pool games afterwards, with Lawrence and Brian in the studio. Plan to be more reflections on this weekend when we get to Wednesday as well in rugby tonight. Richard Hibbard will help us look ahead to the resumption of the Anglo-Welsh Cup as well, and then that competition resumes on Friday with Bath against Gloucester from 7:30, and on Saturday We're at Welford Road, which was a very quiet, near empty place by the final whistle, and Leicester against Northampton in the Anglo and Welsh Cup next Saturday. Quiet at Welford Road, bar for the Glaswegians, who were making a lot of noise, and rightly so after an extraordinary performance.
They were sensational yesterday at Welford Road, and a lot of people will say Leicester were off par. They arguably have been all season. You can't take anything away from Glasgow, from Gregor Townsend. The style of play, the threat that they have in the forwards, in the backs, in the mix of their play. They were worth every single one of those points, and it was a sorry, sorry day if you're a Leicester Tigers player, coach, ex-player, supporter. You live in Leicester, the East Midlands, or in fact if you're an Englishman.
Or perhaps not the latter. Notice that Guy Thompson has gone off for a head injury assessment, so Nathan Hughes is with us. He's part of this scrummaging defensive effort. Don't be confused, Hughes wearing 16, but he's got no immediate plans for a switch to hooker. Got Ashley Johnson as the backup hooker in the back row should they need to switch Tommy Taylor at some point later in the game. But anyway, Hughes is now on.
That's some ask, isn't it, for Johnson? Run around on the flank for maybe 60 minutes. Tommy Taylor's played 80 minutes a few times this season, though. He's incredibly fit.
Marty Moore picked up by David Wilkinson for dropping his elbow to the floor.
Well, this is incredible. 13-3 it's going to be. You can't see kind of missing this. That's just a mess, isn't it? It's hard to call. I'm not sure Lawrence will be sitting back in the studio as comfortable as he was pre-match, but very strange so far, the performance from Wasps.
Change of tyres. It's a dry day, so it doesn't need to go onto the wets, but new footwear. So Marcello Violi with what ought to be the simplest of 3 points. Well. 24.5 minutes gone in Parma, in northern Italy. Not the scoreline many were expecting. Zebre 13, Wasps 3, and deservedly 13-3.
Absolutely as well. And the other factor is that Wasps haven't imparted any continuity, any phase play. They haven't had any ball. And whilst that continues, Elliot Daly's done it again. He's in trouble here. It's very fortunate. He could go off for this for a yellow.
It's timed it, but instead you've hit him in the air.
You'd have thought that guy in particular would have learned not to touch anybody above your head.
Yes, memories of Leonardo Senatore at Twickenham in the test match against the Pumas back in the autumn.
If Grief tips there and lands on his back, on his neck, it's a red card. You've got to be so careful now. You can't go near that jump zone unless you are competing for the ball and your hips are equally as high.
We mentioned a little earlier that David Wilson, the Irish referee, does like a card. He's given reds in the Pro 12 and in the Challenge Cup this season, but was happy that it was just a penalty. A throw from Fabiani. Back last week from a 9-week ban for biting against Connacht in the Pro 12. Oliviero Fabiani.
In the 5.
Biaggi standing up, trying to guide this again. Haskell getting his big spoon in it, doing what he can to disrupt it, and Launchbury was there as well, really slowing things up. And it's a devil of a job for Violi to get that away.
All about the upper body strength of Haskell there, does really well. Comes through the middle of them all, gets his left arm over. And even one arm is hard to move of James Haskell. You see Violi come in here and try and take his hand away first. He's then helped by Launchbury. Now, is this the opportunity Wasps were looking for?
Keep the bind up and not pull down. He has to stay tight. Tight to his hooker.
But the set piece has faltered. Line out's been bad for Wasps. They've conceded penalties at the scrum.
There is the mark. I want you there. Behind it and to the left.
They have to restart this match in their own heads.
And you come up. Thank you. Right.
Marty Moore penalised at the last scrum.
Fine.
Little individual battle with him,
Set.
and Andrea Labotti resumes.
Advantage.
Scrum that was moving this time. It's the Italians who are penalised. Cipriani and Robson, and now Daly, and now Nathan Hughes, and Hughes loses it. Just haven't put anything together right now. Ball in hand, Wasps. They have been very, very off colour.
I think what's adding to it, Nick, is they're struggling to understand what Zebre are doing defensively. They're actually backing off. So they're not giving Wasps a tackle line, a decision point. Cipriani normally would bring that tackle line all the way to him, make somebody make a decision, then distribute the ball. But because Zebre are backing off defensively, it's almost alien to them. They're not used to it. And they end up doing the play as if you would on a training field, well behind the tackle line. By the time they make that decision, you've got two defenders in front of you instead of none.
Knock stop for the lace, please.
Let dogs into grounds in Italy. I like that. Haskell. This is Matt Simmons. Early blow to the head, but he's fine.
Hands off, Black Rook.
Wasps as close as they have been to their first try of the match, and Tommy Taylor now within 5 metres. Again, it's Robson, the scorer against Toulouse last week, and here goes Wade trying to pick his way through an Italian roadblock.
Zebre could be short on the right-hand side here of Wasps. There's only one defender on the left as well, but their tackling's been excellent. I don't know if there was any arms in that one. Be careful from Fabiani.
Elliot Daly making sure there are still options on this left-hand side as well. He's going to have to work hard to resuscitate this situation, however, and he very cleverly passed that ball on to Giuliano Palazzani, and I wonder whether Palazzani in the end took that out.
I think he did, Nick. It's a clever play, but they're going to go back and look at this Fabiani tackle, I think. Not sure whether there was any arms in it. Zebre's defence very good out wide, getting numbers, all going forward in their zones.
Kevin.
I think he does give it out there, Elliot Daly, before he goes into touch, so it should be Wasp ball.
Whether he used his arms or not on the Wasp ball carrier just in front of the try line. That's okay, I'm happy we'll deal with that.
Palazzani credit as well. He was trying to rip the ball away at the same time at the cost perhaps of a line-up, but we might have a penalty before we have the opportunity for that next set piece. We'll see. TMO, by the way, is another Irishman, Kevin Beggs. It's George Biaggi, born and educated in Scotland. He's got a fascinating backstory. His folks ran an ice cream shop and a pub on the Ayrshire coast. Not that any of that really matters at the moment, as we search for the bit of tape that might show a high tackle. Confirmation that Palazzani did take the ball out.
I'm not worried about that. I'll deal with that in a second.
Yeah, he's just got to be a little bit smarter there, Palazzani, hasn't he? Rather than grab the ball, get hold of Elliot Daly and bring him into touch with him, you end up with the line out. Looking at the wrong thing currently. It's the Italian director that's trying to bring up this tackle, and here it is. No, it gets his left arm out to the side, but it's a difficult one, that, isn't it, from that angle?
It's an unconventional way of tackling.
One hand behind your back. It's almost like you used to do at school when you were trying to taunt someone.
It's Fabiani who goes down low.
It was left arm's involved, Nick, in the tackle, but his right arm can't be because it's behind him. I mean, all he's going to do in that situation is hurt himself. It's going to be a difficult decision, this. Kevin Beggs, David Wilkinson. No, from that angle it makes it a lot easier. That's a no-arm tackle and potentially a yellow card, definitely a penalty.
Back two, please. It's a clear no-arms tackle. It's with force. It's a clear yellow card. Okay. Sorry, I tried to.
Some poor old
Thanks, Kevin.
Oliviero Fabiani, who's only just back from biting a chunk out of a Connacht player. Gets another 10 minutes to contemplate life. He's yellow carded for that dangerously low no-arm tackle.
Scrum. scrum calls.
Yeah, never mind contemplating life, he needs to contemplate his tackle technique, because any kid who's watching that is how you hurt yourself, not the opponent. Dived in with his right arm behind his back and his left arm underneath.
It was a test of Simon McIntyre's ankle as well, the ankle that he hurt against Saracens in October. We're talking about the need to go low with tackles these days, but because Wasps have decided to go for the scrum, Tommaso Dapice is on in the front row, trying to work out who they've sacrificed as a result. It looks like one of the backs there. They're sticking with an 8-man scrum.
No, they got
careful here because Wasps have the footing.
Yeah, they got 7 in there at the minute. I think they're going to defensively number up either side. Been doing okay at the scrum. There's only 7 in there at the minute. Now they're numbered off in the back line. But can they stop Nathan Hughes from the base? He's broken his binding. Go for him now.
Hughes gathered in by Mayer, picked up by Johnson, who scores. Didn't take long to make the most of the one-man advantage, and Wasps are grappling their way back into this contest.
Yeah, it's a good finish in the end from Ashley Johnson. Picks it from the base. Nathan Hughes had broken his bind a long time before Mayer decides to go and hit him. Good clear up from Robson, but they don't get to the far side. Canna doesn't get in position, and it's an easy finish in the end for the power of Johnson.
Talk about how much work Ashley Johnson's been doing over the course of this season. He's missed a game yet, and as you say, switching between back row and hooker, which is the position he's trying to
happy with it, Kevin.
Tie down. He is earning whatever he's earning at the Rico these days. He clocks on for pretty much the whole thing.
We're going back to look at it again, I think. Didn't see anything wrong with it the first time round.
I can only think that it would be a question about a double movement. Does he lose it? No, he's got control of that as he goes over the line.
Yeah, it's a try.
The only question in David Wilkinson's mind is whether he loses it, but as long as his arm still has contact with it, which it does. He's been a regular supplier of tries this season. Johnson. Unconverted. Wasps within 5. Final 10 minutes of the first half. A reminder that Fabiani will spend the rest of this half in the sin bin.
Might just be the kickstart that Wasps are looking for. Realise that their power game in the maul's going pretty well. It looks like they might have sorted their line-out out. But really, we want to see them go through phase after phase and carry. It's a great restart as well from Zebre.
Straight black.
I think that Kyle Eastman might have been off his feet when he took that hit, but we go on.
That's what it looks like he's asking. Alazani, though, timed it to perfection.
Wait, 5, 7, stop!
You heard the cry of anguish from Cipriani as he got the ball away, but not where he wanted it. Here's the other fly half. Canna. Here's Grief. Leonardo Sato. Part of Glasgow's efforts these days. There's no Gio Van der T, Pro 12 top scorer for Zebre this season. So Palazzani and Grief having to operate on the wings today. Palazzani, better known as a scrum half. He was a number 9 at the Rico in October. And this time Mbanda holding on to the ball.
On his feet.
Holding on to the ball and trying to relocate his fingers by the looks of things.
Happy to play around them?
Well, it's worth just reminding ourselves of where we are right now in Pool 2. As we kicked off, Wasps, Toulouse and Connacht all harboured hopes of making it into the quarterfinals. Right now, it will be Wasps who top the pool. Toulouse second, which would be enough to get them in as one of the best runners-up. Connacht just being edged out on points difference, as we can see at the moment. And if things stay as they are, Wasps will go to Dublin and to Leinster in the quarterfinals. Line out gathered in by Launchbury as they look to turn the screw at the end of this first half. They've got a penalty.
Number 5, you can't come through and take out the lifter.
Sure, all the Glasgow players are watching this with great interest as well, and a Toulouse-Connacht game. Whether or not they end up going to Munster or they go to Sarries. I'm not sure who you'd prefer to play if you were Glasgow. Maybe Munster. I think maybe you know more about them.
I think the way they're playing at the moment, they probably don't care who they play. The way that Gregor Townsend has them set up, the confidence that is running through that Warriors side right now.
Yeah, there's also the conversation to be had about the artificial surface. They're used to playing on it. Sarries don't play many sides that are used to playing on artificial pitches, so maybe it would be Sarries, Nick.
Now change. Mbanda, who hurt himself in that latest passage, has been replaced by Dries van Skoltvik. And he's part of this defensive effort, as Tommy Taylor has it. There's a penalty coming. Robson, Cipriani looking for the gaps. He might go on his own. And Wasps are level. 2 tries as we bear down on half-time. It was a very sticky first 30 minutes. Since the 30-minute mark, it's been much, much better.
Yeah, it's a lovely wide pass from Robson on the move. Then Cipriani gets on that outside arc, and he's very difficult to stop. Ball in 2 hands. Inside defenders really struggling to get onto him. He has Wade on the outside. He's looking at throwing that long ball, and Bonnie drops off the tackle. And Wasps, if they can slot this over, being a 2-point lead at half-time.
Yes, who'd have thought it would take Wasps 36 minutes to move ahead in this contest in Parma, but they are ahead. Zebre 13, Wasps 15.
Is that driving maul again that it all stemmed from? That's where they've really had the upper hand. They get the freebie. There's a penalty to go back from this. Keeping the ball in 2 hands, outside arc, you have to make your tackles, and now we're starting to see a little bit of fatigue kicking into the Zebre back line and pack, and they're starting to drop off those one-on-one hits.
It's the second time of asking, but Nathan Hughes holds on to the ball, wearing 16, but as we were saying earlier, very much part of the back row effort. And then come on for Guy Thompson. Fullback Baker under a little bit of pressure. No Luke Burgess these days, or Mills Muliaina. Muliaina headed off to the San Diego Breakers, which sounds like a very nice place to play rugby. Canna. Hughes waits for the ball to come to heel and then sets off on them. Beale. Daly. It's an Italian hand, and it was gathered in by the try scorer right at the beginning of the match, Mattia Bellini. Brief, chasing after it, but the ball beats both him and Wade.
Lovely kick from Violi. Starting to see Wasps now winning the collisions, getting in behind. But even then, Curly Beale decides to run wide when, in theory, against other opposition, I don't think you would. There's 5 defenders against 3 attackers. Elliot Daly tries to put the boot to ball, and when you've got that number of defenders in front of you, it's very difficult to find the gaps. When you're 3-on-3, it's a lot easier. That wasn't the case.
Oh, don't collapse it, Black. Hold back.
Half injury now, seemingly happily.
Backwards.
Thing of the pass for the captain. Noticing his inclusion in England's Six Nations squad this week, and that's a meaty drive. It's taken them almost all the way to Milan. It's won a penalty, and on they go with Robson, and Here goes Wade.
He's hard to put down, is he? Not the biggest guy, but incredibly strong with low centre of gravity. And now they're really on the front foot, Wasps, until I said that.
It was initially sharp work between Johnson and Hughes. In the end, they asked just a little bit too much of the ball. Canna gives it a fairly industrial wallop up to Wade, who'll bring it back with a bit more finesse. There's a hint of a high tackle, more shoulders than anything worse from Grief.
Release back.
Cipriani.
Big hit from De Pietro on Launchbury as well in the midfield.
Hey.
Tommaso De Pietro on, because Fabiani is off right now, the starting hooker, with a yellow card, and the warning was made to Violi that the ball was not his to pick up, but he didn't heed it, or he didn't understand David Wilkinson.
There's a flag on the field as well, Nick. Maybe they're going back for that Grief tackle on Wade.
Right, captain, please.
Johnny Erskine is the touch judge on that far side.
Right, captain.
That captain is Carlo Canna.
Okay.
Well, I think he's hard done by there, because both the Wasp players are off their feet, so the ruck's finished. There's nobody rucking.
Other option, it's official warning.
Artie Moore, that's a different ruck.
Okay. Yeah. It's to the corner. Yeah, it's back here.
However, rightly or wrongly, in David Wilkinson's mind, Italian offences are mounting up, and you will have just heard him there say that any more of them will be another yellow card.
Time on, please.
Just time for the line out before half-time. Don't talk to Wasps about line outs with time nearly up. This time there was legally time for the kick and the late throw.
Yeah, and Wasps look to get that driving maul going, or they've set up for it anyway. Johnson out the line out in the driving position, but will they do a breakout and peel? Yeah.
Robson and Hughes, who was left out to provide that muscle. Cipriani, Beale offered himself, and Wade provided the link to Daly, who might go on his own. Oh, that is lovely. It's taken a while to grease the Wasps' wheels, but they're beginning to move nicely now, and they've got 3 tries before half-time.
Yeah, the interplay in the midfield after the carry was really nice, right on the tackle line. And when you give that guy Elliot Daly an outside shoulder, there's very few in world rugby that can stop him. Let alone Palazzani. It's that decoy right line, isn't it, from Francolai? Coming short, just sits the defence down ever so slightly, presents half a yard, and that's all that Elliot Daly needs. I don't, however, think that is going to take away from the absolute steaming the Wasps players are going to get from Dai Young at half-time.
Daly, by the way, 150th game for Wasps today. He and Matt Mullen led the team out jointly. Mullen on the bench. When he comes on, it'll be his 100th, and Daly's already marked his landmark in the grand fashion. And Cipriani judges the angle to perfection. It was a very sticky first 30 minutes for Wasps. Zebre were magnificent, and they deserved their lead, given to them by Mattia Bellini's try. But after Oliviero Fabiani's yellow card, Ashley Johnson, Danny Cipriani and Elliot Daly all went over, and at half-time it is Wasps with a seemingly now comfortable lead, although perhaps not quite as large as they might have expected it to be. Zebre 13, Wasps 22.
Let's rejoin Austin Healy and Nick Mullins.
Thank you, Craig. Stadio Sergio Lanfranchi, a stadium that carries the name of one of the region's most celebrated players from the mists of time, a prop who played for Parma and Italy over 3 decades in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Talking about history, Wasps have lost a European game in Italy previously. They were beaten in Treviso 15 years ago. A warning from the past, maybe. More positively, they've won the other 20 against Italian opposition. And I think realistically, Austin, that's the way, certainly if the last 10 minutes of the first half are to go by, that's the direction we're heading here.
Yeah, and the guys in the studio hit the nail on the head, sort out their set piece and then start to go through their power game. That's what's got them back into the match. Strangely for Wasps, the driving maul has been what's created most of the tries.
Danny Cipriani gets us back underway. It's actually a mild, pleasant day a little bit earlier in northern Italy, but darkness starts to creep in, the temperatures falling lower and lower. It's decidedly fresh. Cipriani, past the interested George Biaggi, but in the end it found its intended target, if a little bit hairily. Daly, score of Wasps' best try of that first 40, finding Wade and Cipriani once more. This is Simmons.
I like that Cipriani just moving his forwards back off his shoulder. That's a tackle early on Nathan Hughes. Wasps retain possession though.
Johnson.
Backwards off Black, play on.
Ought to have been intercepted by Canna, but it wasn't. However, Zebre do have it, and Canna once more can employ his right boot. Hammered away by Frank Halai, who is having to take his starting opportunities when they come along these days. Josh Bassett, regular starter, on the bench tonight.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it, at the start of this season, seeing Josh Bassett selected over Frank Halai. He was very impressive for Wasps last year, scored a lot of tries, carried, gave them a physicality. And like you said, he's not really played that much rugby this year.
Okay.
Now we are following the other match in this pool, in Pool 2, between Toulouse and Connacht, a game that will have a bearing on the quarter-final lineup. And once more, Toulouse underlining the impression that it will be them in the last days, Austin.
Yeah, it's Corey that goes through the middle, scoring the try, taking the lead out to 19-3. Bearing in mind, Connacht with a losing bonus point there, provided that we don't see 4 tries from Toulouse, would go through.
Come on, please.
So it's still all up to play for.
White.
However, for the time being, it is the Irish province who are just being edged out by the French. Wasps, happily for them, for the time being on top of the pool. Line out, won by Furno under some pressure, but won well. And Baker, the fullback, feeding Lloyd Grief, Kiwi to a South African.
Oh, great strength from Grief to stay on the field of play.
This is Tommaso Boni, first Italian caps last year. He scored a try against the All Blacks in November. And Fabiani is back with us, having received that yellow card for the no arms low tackle for the break.
Lavotti penalised here from coming in from the side. It's a good double hit from Wasps. Does Lavotti come from the side? I don't think he's got much choice. He's trying to get into the ball, but if you're going to, you have to come through the gate and clear out Marty Moore. But they've missed touch, Wasps.
Kevin, I want to check that,
was there a hint of the high from Kyle Eastman there? He's not the biggest chap in the world, but that's going to be worth a check as Zebre threatened again on the right wing with Giulielmo Palazzani. Saw very little of him in the first half.
That's feet, play on.
Regular scrum half who was 9 at the Rico back in October, but he had an opportunity to stretch his legs there, albeit not for long.
He did, but you saw the pace of Danny Cipriani on the cover. The game's really opening up now. Look at the bodies all over the place defensively from Zebre. Curtly Beale can go forward and get the ball into Christian Wade's hand. This is a great opportunity.
Halai offering himself. Beale striding through, marked his Champions Cup debut with a try against Connacht back in November. Christian Wade,
Forward advantage.
who's yet to score one in the Champions Cup this season. For all the tries he has got, he's not got one in Europe, and he won't get one for the time being either.
Fantastic tackle from Mini. When you see Christian Wade matched up against any forward, regardless of whether he's a front row or a back row, you just think try time. Mini does an incredible job of getting him on the outside shoulder and then bringing him down. There's that tackle they're looking back at. Was there an arm involved? Was it high? There's no arm in that. That's a shoulder barge. That's from his rugby league days. If you're going to see consistency here, then that's a yellow card as well.
You may well have heard David Wilkinson say that the television match official Kevin Beggs saw it as a rugby collision.
Okay.
It's a rugby league collision.
Let's go right.
He's not wrong, just didn't finish the sentence.
Zebre record at Europe's elite level is a grisly one. 17 games, 17 defeats. They concede on average 43 points a game, half a dozen tries. Wasps with a little bit of work to do to get up to that average.
And white one's going across as well.
A forceful peep on the Irish whistle to signal a Zebre penalty at the scrum.
Captain. Captain. Relax. Okay, so the AR's come in with 3 binding on the arm, and 1 has gone straight across the scrum. All I say is on your ball, the scrum is very solid and you've got good dominant ball. When it's there put in, we've got issues. The 3 penalties, the behaviour needs to change. No, that's it.
Clearly that David Wilkinson has some problems with both Marty Moore in the first half and now Simon McIntyre, just a little bit of a binding issue.
Yeah, well, Launchbury there saying that Kistolini is binding on McIntyre's arm. But it does look like McIntyre's hips are coming out to the side. It's so difficult, isn't it? Often whoever gets the upper hand first ends up creating a picture for the referee that gets penalised for his opposite number. And that maybe you could argue with McIntyre happened there. But certainly Kistolini is boring in, but is that a byproduct of McIntyre going out to the side? To be perfectly honest, I don't care.
Line out one by Dries van Schalkwyk, who came on for Maxime Mbanda at the end of that first half. Zebre is bringing the pressure on themselves on their own 22, and this is Furno. A couple of hefty strides to return home from Newcastle at the start of the season. And the strides he took there weren't hefty enough, and Wasps were quickly on him. Hughes and Kistolini coming together. Final score from the Stade Jean Bouin, by the way. Stade Francais have beaten Harlequins by 27 points to 17. So Quins are out of this season's Challenge Cup match that should have been over a couple of hours ago, but the start was delayed because of a frozen pitch, or at least the corner of it. Quins have been frozen out of this season's competition. They've lost 27-17 to the Parisians.
Furno's actually done pretty well for Zebre this evening. It's carried quite hard, but you just see Tommy Taylor there over the ball. He is so difficult to move. And this is where Wasps need to be very, very careful. Just need to keep their heads, retain possession, play some rugby.
Potentially significant trying to lose, which we will show you in a moment or two. To lose against Connacht in this pool, kicking off at the same time, as you will know if you've been with us all afternoon, and we're bringing you the tries when they go in. There's been another. We'll have that shortly. Let's see if we might get another from Wasps here. Cipriani back to Marty Moore. And under some pressure. Did well to hold on to that. But in the end held on a little bit longer than he ought to have done.
Yeah, it's great defence from Derek Minnie. Cipriani sees the space on the blind side and goes there early. The rest of the Wasp players are a little bit slower to react, which means he has to end up turning back to the inside. And as he does, Minnie slams him to the ground. As you can see, Biaggi managed to get over the ball.
Now that try at the start, Ernest Vallon, and it is a try for Connacht.
Certainly is, and it's a great carry in the midfield. Eventually, John Muldoon goes over for the score. And it's converted by Ronaldson. Connor right back in that. 3 more points and the whole group changes complexion.
Off the line, please. Off the line.
Yeah, just to underline that if Connacht come away with a losing bonus point and restrict to lose to less than 4 tries, it'll be they who sneak the last spot in the last 8.
Yeah, well, a lot to play for. Last 30 minutes of that game. And this game's still all up for grabs as well. Albeit you'd have to back Wasps now.
Marcello Violi.
Don't block them, 16. Keep going.
Plenty of time for Frank Halai. This is Van Skoltvik. Kyle Eastman invited to take a couple of steps backwards. This is Fabiani.
He's not the biggest guy, Kyle Eastman, is he? But he certainly doesn't shirk any of that tackling responsibility. Again, though, Zebre on the outside, breaking Wasps down.
Van Skoltvik's break was impressive. The pass had to be a little bit speculative, but it eventually found its target. And Zebre once again pressing in and around Wasps 22, trying to recreate the buzz they had in the first 30 minutes when they led 13-3. Here goes Baker.
Bonnie through the middle as well. Wasps have got their defence reorganised now.
Meyer. Canna. Dries van Skoltvik. Scored the try against South Africa in the autumn that led to that historic win. First ever win against the Springboks. Against the country of his birth. And Wasps have populated that well, and it looks like Nathan Hughes down amongst the weeds making sure it's their ball.
It's one of the worst decisions I think I've ever seen. Nathan Hughes off his feet in the tackle Wasps are playing. Nathan Hughes was lying on his backside and the penalty was given.
Just wait. 15.
And that's why they're all making such a fuss of it. It's very difficult in this scenario to keep your mouth shut when you've had such an injustice against you. There's that breakdown. They're going to show it again. Carries through the middle. He's competing okay, but he hasn't got his hands on the ball there, and then he's taken off his feet, and then he still manages to steal. Very harsh against Zebre.
Kurt Baker, meantime, has been told that his reaction was completely unacceptable, and he's been told to watch what he says and what he does over the remainder of this match.
Okay.
It's George Biaggi, was captain of Zebre last season, a job that's since passed to Carlo Canna. And off the left boot, a little bit scruffily, but he finds the seat. It's Elliot Daly.
Give me time.
Once again, Biaggi and Ferner making life tough.
Definitely done their homework, Zebre. Both second rows got jacked up at the back of the line out there. It's almost like they're just targeting Launchbury. Wherever he goes in the line out, they're following.
There's too many infringements in the ball.
Oh, it's a yellow.
There you go.
For Derek Minnie.
Let go and change your mind. You didn't let go.
Minnie the Minx. A little bit too much of one for the referee's liking, and David Wilkinson picks out the yellow card, and once again Zebre have been shorn of a player, down to 14.
You have to think that's more of a cumulative yellow card than for just that instance.
Yeah,
Hughes is swimming up the side, breaking his bind. On the plus side, Cipriani's put a great kick into the corner. Now will Wasps go back to their driving ball? Yes, they will.
Ball initially taken in by Nathan Hughes, who has 16 on his back tonight, and the original take might lead to another try. A rumbling, unstoppable bundle of humanity, and at the bottom of it, Ashley Johnson. And John
Mented. It's exactly what they've got.
Meantime, Italy's first choice loose head, Andrea Lavotti, replaced by Bruno Postiglione, who's an Argentinian. Played international rugby for the Pumas, 18 caps, last of them a couple of years ago, so experience for experience, replaced by Johan Meyer, called back. Wasps, by the way, playing their 99th game in Europe's top-tier competition, between the Heineken Cup, of course, and now the Champions Cup, so we assume their 100th will be clocked up in Dublin against Leinster, because that's the way things are shaping up quarter-final-wise. First weekend in April when we have those quarter-final matches.
Yeah, that's the mark, okay? Step off it. Come up a wee bit away, that's too far now. Come up another bit, please. Another wee touch, perfect. That's good.
A little over 10 minutes to go.
Quarterfinals definitely have a different feel to them than last year, don't they? Only 2 English sides through.
Right.
A real mix. Could still see Connacht go through.
Bang.
Could have 3 Irish sides in there. Compare that to last year.
Keep it up, Black One. Keep up. Keep your head up, Black One.
Score in Toulouse, still Toulouse 19, Connacht 10. Connacht pressing for a losing bonus point that would sneak them into the last 8. A bit more clear cut at the Stadio Lanfranchi as Wasps again hunt down what would be a 6th try. This is Thomas Young, the thrill of being part of a Wales Six Nations squad for the first time this week, and Johnson, who started the fight back after half an hour. First half an hour that Zebre won 13-3. Since then it's been pretty much all Wasps, and try scored by Josh Bassett, who's been on the pitch for about 3.5 seconds.
I'm happy with the grounding. Check for touch.
It's a good mixture, isn't it? Forwards carrying Johnson. There's that timing of Cipriani. Lovely hands from Elliot Daly.
I'm happy with the
Bassett goes over in the corner. It was a really big carry, a very straight, direct carry. Oh, is his foot in touch? That is very close. His left foot looks like it might just have slid out to the line.
Well, it certainly bears another look, you would have thought. And here it comes. Let's have a look at that left boot. Oh, yes.
Oh, I don't know, Nick. We might have to have a look at another angle. Looks like his heel's on the ground, but are his toes on the ground?
David Wilkinson is certainly inclined to chalk this off. It's Lloyd Grief who hairs across to make the tackle on Bassett.
Well, this angle definitely looks like he's in touch. But if you look very, very closely to his left foot, do his toes leave the floor and his heel's on the floor? It's a matter of millimetres, this. His toes up. I think he might be okay. You need to see the angle from behind. Here we go. I think he's okay. I don't think they're going to give it, but I think he might be okay. No, they haven't given it. It's almost like the turf that he's dug up with his boot gives the appearance that his toes are over the white line. I think they are over the white line, but I don't think they're on the white line.
Instead, it's a Zebre line-out. And Josh Furno being replaced by Federico Ruzza. Made an impact at the Rico in October, a couple of tries. One a rumble over, another an interception. And he's another who's part of Conor O'Shea's Six Nations plans. He's currently uncapped.
Come on, please.
And the throw for Tommaso De Piccia, former man of Gloucester. Handful of games 4 or 5 years ago.
Wait, wait. No hands, wait. Stay on side.
Engelbrecht on in midfield for Tommaso Boni. Engelbrecht actually a scrum half, so we'll see whether they shift things around a little bit. Still got Canner at 10.
He wanted a little bit more, didn't he, in terms of territory there from that kick. Knows now that they're still under pressure.
How many have we got, White? 7.
Wasps in this area of the field in the first half ran a midfield peel and ended up scoring out wide. Stolen again, though.
It's Rutzer who
Over the 15, it's okay.
developing a habit of coming on against Wasps and making things happen.
Get black. We're going to put you on, that's okay.
Canna's kick really doesn't do much because it's just going to bring Wasps and Beale back on to them. Tackle made by Postiglione. And then the burst through from Tommy Taylor. What a sight, he is at full speed. Likewise, Eastman looking to thread his way through.
Good line picking again. And what I liked about the line that he picked a really good shoulder ball, but then he didn't just plough into contact. He realised he was a long way away from his support and bought a little bit of time, stepped off his left foot, came back, gave the ball to a back who often make better decisions, but then kept himself alive for the clear out. They talk about rebounds and activities. Tommy Taylor's got to be right up there in the stats for all front five players in the Viva Premiership and in Europe this year. But picks out some really good lines. Here's the try earlier on that got Wasps back in the game from Elliot Daly.
So that's probably the best of the lot, and partly as a result of that, he has been handed the Heineken Man of the Match award.
Come on, please.
Sadly, that wasn't your decision today. You've lost that responsibility for some fairly dubious ones over the last couple of months. So not really surprising you didn't have the job today. But
yeah, neither am I, Nick, to be honest.
If you had that job, who would you have given it to?
Probably would have given it to you. I think the way that you've covered this game has been immense today.
Yeah. Wise choice.
I might have gone for Tommy Taylor actually. I think Elliot Daly would have been close. I think Tommy Taylor's picked two really good lines. A lot of work around the field.
Keep it up, keep it up.
Taylor's made a good comeback. Missed the game against Toulouse after banging his head against Leicester. And, it's a little bit of a tangle, but Zebre somehow extricate themselves from it. Halai. Now Beale to Bassett, who thought he scored and he hadn't, but that's a wonderful offload to Beale. And now Daly chasing onto it, and it would have been spectacular. However, knocked on.
Okay. Always under pressure.
That would have been an amazing try. A wonderful piece of play. Bassett picks a good line, comes dead straight, gets his hands through the tackle, back to Beale, and Beale the outside of the right boot. It's in the perfect spot to take. Elliot Daly decides to try and take it early. Just knocks it on.
Engage. Okay.
It's been another compelling weekend of European rugby. If you've missed any of it, if you want to re-watch any of it, then our highlights programme with Lawrence and Brian and Craig coming up once we're done here. And then Wednesday's rugby tonight. We've got Richard Hibbard in the studio, Wales and Gloucester hooker, looking ahead to the start of the Anglo-Welsh Cup next weekend. Bath against Gloucester from the Rec on Friday night, and then on Saturday, always a big East Midlands affair, whatever the tournament. Tigers against Saints. Curtly Beale. That's nicely done by Bassett. That is brilliantly done, and he's over the 10-metre line and he's looking for support. He might have to do it all on his own. Wrapped up by Grief.
Black feet, black feet.
Eastman. And Daly. Now Halai again. Senses space, testing Italian lungs and testing them to breaking point. Try has been scored by Nathan Hughes, wearing 16, but very much marauding once again from the back row for Wasps.
Yeah, it's a mixture of the great line and pace of Bassett through the middle, and then a little in and out step from Elliot Daly. As this comes wide, it's a missed pass from Eastman. He steps in, steps out, just sits down the defender, creates the space on the outside. Halai's got the power to get his arms through the tackle, and not many people stop Nathan Hughes from 5 yards out.
You assume that he is the obvious starter against France in the Six Nations, with Big Billy absent for the time being.
Absolutely. I think he showed that in the last of the autumn internationals. He will start with that 8 shirt on. A lot of people talk about England and Ireland as the last game, but I am really worried about the first game against France. France starting to just put a few things together, and they've certainly got the power and the pace to live with England. Question is, will they travel?
I suspect Ireland might have half a wary eye on Murrayfield as well on the
Absolutely,
opening weekend,
yeah.
the way that Glasgow and Edinburgh are playing at the moment. Another 2 points off the left boot of Danny Cipriani, and Nathan Hughes has his try, and a match that began somewhat problematically for Wasps, conceding an early try, trailing 13-3 after half an hour. Once they took a grip of it, they didn't let go, and they're now waltzing away with things.
Yeah, if you were comparing it to a bath as a child, it was probably just a little bit too lukewarm. It was a bit cold to start with. Wasps have put some hot water in the second half, but I think Zebre have had their best performance of the season.
Now, final score from the start: Ernest Vallon and Toulouse have won by 19 points to 10. So not only did Connacht lose, but they miss out on the quarterfinals as well. They couldn't pick up the losing bonus point that would have rescued them. So it'll be Wasps and Toulouse going through from Pool 2. Wasps as the pool winners, Toulouse as one of the 3 best placed runners-up. So that's the top 8 as it stands. Wasps will be in Dublin in the quarterfinals. That's the way things look right now. Connacht's grand European campaign draws to its conclusion in the south of France.
Yes, fine margins, isn't it? 3 points away, and they would have been travelling to Munster. As it is, Toulouse find themselves going up there. That could be a cracking game over at Thomond Park.
There's Mayer.
Wrong tacklers.
Zebre have a 3-week break before the resumption of the Pro 12 for them. They'll welcome the leaders Ospreys to the Stadio Sergio Lanfranchi in February.
Yeah, you're beaten by the ruck. Ruck in form.
And Wasps now just over a minute away from winning away in the Champions Cup for the first time this season. Remember, they nabbed a draw in Toulouse back in the autumn, lost late on in Connacht in circumstances that they found difficult to swallow. And I guess the long-term implication of that defeat and the decision of Mathieu Reynal to award that late line out is that they will be away from home in the quarterfinals. They won't have home comforts,
Finish White.
but they are in the last 8. This is Rutzer. Oh, and that needed to be a very big tackle from Eastman, but it wasn't enough to stop the try. He only wishes that he could play Wasps every week. He got 2 at the Rico, and he's got 1 in Parma tonight.
I think you can't take anything away from Zebre, can you? The performance in the first 25 is very good. They've kept fighting. They've ran some really intelligent lines. It's a good hit from Eastman. Just doesn't manage to stick on the ball, and it pops up to Rutzer, and he takes it under the posts. It's a great tackle in the first place by Eastman, but like I said, the rebound off the floor creates the try. Zebre finish on arguably a little bit of a high.
And they've scored 3 tries again. They do score tries.
They do. They're just a little bit messy, aren't they? They just lack a little bit of control around the field. But that's what you get. That's what you expect to get when you play against them. Wasps fell into that bracket throughout the match, but got the job done in the end and end up going to Leinster.
is the final line of the match, and smiles on the face of the likes of Marcello Violi. They equipped themselves more than adequately, Zebre, certainly in the first half an hour, and they didn't give up in the last 20 minutes either. But Wasps have managed to do what David Young hoped they would. They haven't become the unwitting subjects of the greatest story of Zebre's season by being the Fancy Dans who lost to them. It was a very sticky first half an hour,